Hello, and welcome to the UI7 special presentation of Succeeding in a New World. I'm Michael Szczepaniak.
And I'm Hannah Lonergan. Thank you for joining us. Today, you'll see some of the challenges that international students face while living and studying abroad and how they overcome the differences to have a great experience in the United States.
You may not know, but the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign is known for having the largest international student population among U.S. public institutions.
According to its last annual report from the fall of 2021, there are almost 10,000 students currently studying on campus.
The data also shows that the university has admitted an average of nearly 10,000 international students every year in the last decade.
And they come from 116 different countries. The top 5 includes China, India, South Korea, Taiwan, and Indonesia.
Going to another country to pursue dreams in education is not an easy goal to achieve. It requires strength to face the problems that come with living abroad. Our Manu Ferreira talked to students to learn a little bit about their stories and what they have been through.
Yes, Michael. As an international student myself, I know that there are many struggles, from the weather and time zone change to the food. But when talking to students on campus, 3 other obstacles were in common among them. Getting a master's degree in veterinary to study cancer therapy was for a long time a big dream for Matheus Moreno. He graduated from college in 2018 in his home country, Brazil, and waited for 3 years to come to the U.S. to get into grad school. His first obstacle was COVID-19.
So it was really difficult because I had to go to another place to get my visa because the embassy in Brazil was closed. So I had to go to Ecuador. And then from Ecuador, I had to quarantine for 2 weeks for the interview, and then I had to come here to the United States.
Besides problems with visa, the first biggest challenges for international students are to adapt to a new culture, face the language barrier, and make friends.
I think people are more reserved here, so I think that for me it's the biggest challenge, like to be included into the population, like a classroom, like in a coffee shop. I think it's really difficult then back home.
Lu Shu is a PhD student from China that shares a similar feeling about making friends from other countries.
So I'm not very confident to speak English. I mean, I know the grammar and the language, but I don't really get the culture behind it. Like sometimes it's hard for me to find if it's appropriate to make a joke or if it's applied for others.
This is a brand new culture for us. So maybe when we interact with domestic students, we do hold ourselves a little bit, which we haven't shown all the different aspects from us.
So whenever I want to be more happy, I always try to hang out with my Brazilian friends.
Obrigada, amor.
cafezinho?
Não, obrigada.
The language barrier involves more problems than making friends. When it comes to the classroom, it can add even more academic pressure.
My brain is tired sometimes, and because I have to think twice before saying something if it's not in my native language.
If we need to write something, study for something, it's at least double work for us, because not only have to face the language, but also need to face our self-confidence. Am I ready to speak up? Am I ready to do this presentation? Am I ready to answer that question in English? I think that's really difficult.
I feel overwhelmed in some perspectives because all these courses are pretty intensive. Got a lot of assignments every week, a lot of readings.
Professor Alison Witt says sometimes international students are not used to the American style of education when it comes to the amount of discussion in class.
And I think it's a big adjustment to always have to be sharing your own opinion about different topics. Sometimes international students have said to me, I'm not ready to have an opinion about this.
Professor wants you to talk in the class, so which I think is another thing. like the culture difference regarding to the academic side, and the other is like it's a different time, like it's different life skill.
Despite all the challenges, one thing is unanimous between students. Studying abroad is a worthwhile experience and is an opportunity to grow personally and professionally.
I still think it's worth it. It's worth it to really live in another culture, and you can be more open-minded and be more respectful for others, and it can really change your understanding of your future and your whole life.
So you need to open yourself to new experience, new people that show up in your life, learn new things, respect other cultures, religions. So I think it's a very nice opportunity, and I recommend for everyone who gets a chance to study abroad or to do a whole program in another university.
To discuss a little bit more about the struggles that international students deal with, we welcome Helen McDonald. She's a clinical associate professor at the University of Illinois and is joining us live via Zoom. Professor McDonald, what are the most common problems foreign students have when they come to the United States?
I think some of the most common problems are related to any human being feeling a sense of belongingness, wanting to belong wherever they're at. And I think that's one of the most common that they experience is not feeling like they belong. Like maybe some of them might not feel like they're welcome, depending on the political situation from which they're coming from their own country of origin. And some of the other problems could be just adjusting to the environment, culture shock, right? We get culture shock even if we move out of town, right? Or go to a place we've never been to before in the same country, let alone going abroad. So those are some of the most common situations and problems that I feel students experience when they're coming from other countries. So whenever we don't feel like we belong, whenever we're new to an environment, sometimes we can tend to isolate, and also depending on our past experiences and our family of origin, psychology and well-being, those are all potential factors that could lead to a person maybe starting to experience, more symptoms of feeling down, excuse me, feeling down, feeling alone, feeling different, not feeling like they belong again, maybe starting to lose appetite or their appetite might increase. So all the general kind of symptoms, difficulty sleeping or sleeping too much. Anxiety is also another symptom that they might experience, worrying about, what they're going to do, who they're going to meet with, maybe if there's language barriers, feeling, not as confident about communicating, just even basic conversational English sometimes.
And what can they do to minimize the stress and pressure and solve those issues?
A lot of times, I think what can be really helpful is before they even get to that point of feeling down or feeling very anxious, is starting to find things and activities that maybe they're interested in learning more about, stepping outside of their comfort zone to meet new people, maybe finding groups of students that are speak the same language or come from the same country even. Maybe even doing some of the stuff that any one of us would want to do, right? To kind of offset some of those emotional downhill slopes that we could all get into. Exercise programs, and then maybe just going out for walks with a friend, with somebody that they've met on campus, or reaching out to the student affairs office from their program to see what kind of support networks are in place.
Where can they find help here?
If they're interested, because not everybody is into therapy or counseling, there's always that option as well for them to reach out to the counseling center or the McKinley Mental Health Unit for additional, maybe some sessions just to kind of deal with, the culture shock, stress management, anxiety, worry, depression.
We are looking mostly at people that come to the US, but what about American students that want to go to another country?
Oh, absolutely. So, I teach a short-term faculty-led class to Greece, and I also offer MSW internships in Cape Town, South Africa. And I go with the students to Greece. We've done this for the last 4 years, 4 times at least, not 4 years in a row. And I'm from there. I was born in South Africa, and my parents were Greek immigrants to South Africa from Greece, so I have a general understanding about the two countries and cultures. But when students interact with me as their clinical faculty member while they're doing their internships in Cape Town, they experience just the same culture shock that other students coming here would experience. Um, the difference in the environment, the sights, the smells, your whole olfactory system, your vision, all your senses are impacted with the unfamiliar. And so it does take a little bit of time, regardless of where you're located and where you're coming from, to adjust and adapt. And by the time they're done with their internships in Cape Town, 3 months have gone by and they're starting to settle in. It's time to come back to the US.
What do you think local people don't really know about being an international student, and how could they help to support them?
I think one thing is just opening up your heart and your home, maybe even to inviting some students over for Thanksgiving. When you have a Friendsgiving instead of Thanksgiving, learning from them what their culture is about, finding out more about what needs they might have. I think we have a lot more people that are from other countries and cultures in Champaign County in this community than we even want to admit to. And I think if we just stop looking at foreigners as people that, are just here doing their thing and then we just want them to go back home. We need to remember that we're all foreigners really on this planet, and just kind of stepping back a little bit and kind of thinking about ways that we can help others and being community conscious rather than individualists.
Thank you for joining us today, Professor McDonald.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
When we get back, you will see how events and fairs are important to connect students to their home country and to share their culture with the community.
We are back to the special presentation of Succeeding in a New World. Some international students have an atypical experience when they come as athletes and have to juggle between school, work, and sports competitions.
The process is also complicated, but having support from locals makes the difference.
It wasn't easy, but it helped that the coaches here were very communicative. They made it really simple for me to come here, see everything that we have at Illinois, and fall in love with it.
One of my teammates was also from Vancouver, Canada, so I was able to talk with her a lot about her process, and it made it a lot easier having somebody I already knew here.
One helpful tool for those who come from different countries is to be members of clubs. These organizations provide integration with other students through social activities.
It's just fun because you get to meet other international athletes and then kind of see how they're doing and maybe help them, or they can help you with struggles you have at school. And then now, especially because I'm a senior, there are freshmen coming in that I could help out with a lot of questions that I might have. So it's great. It's great that we have this.
Besides clubs, having events promoted by the university is also important to integrate students and celebrate cultural diversity. One example was the International Education Week.
The event included various cultural and recreational activities hosted by student groups, centers, colleges, and local partners. During the week, the community had the chance to watch musical performances, to cook and try different kinds of food, and also to participate in a traditional soccer competition called Indoor World Cup.
Our Manu Ferreira visited the Travel Around the World Fair and talked to students to know how they feel about sharing their culture with others.
This is a really nice occasion to learn about all the other countries. As you can see, we are representing Peru, but you can know a lot of countries just being here, traveling around the world. That's the name of the event.
Kurt Sonko is a graduate student majoring in civil engineer. He was one of the people that participated in the fair and showed a little bit of the traditions, music, and dance of his home country.
I'm super happy actually to share my culture with everyone. I know that it seems hard, but it's super funny, so everyone should try it. That's the idea.
The event was promoted to celebrate the big impact of global learning and cultural exchange at the University of Illinois. It was an opportunity to interact and learn more about other countries.
The people that come, they're so friendly, like they're interested in knowing my country and culture. And I'm really, like, I love sharing my history and culture and my country to them.
For example, from Egypt, I learned a lot of their gods and also about their how they write their names, which is super fun. Also, seeing other cultures dancing, like for example the Greek culture, they were dancing together, so it was super fun.
I really liked the event. I learned about many countries that I didn't know much about. The presentations were nice, very knowledgeable. The people were very nice as well, and I liked trying all the new cultural foods.
More than presenting cultural elements and spreading diversity, events like this are also important to integrate international with local students and reduce any kind of prejudice.
I think break down like stereotypes or maybe like some racist like feelings towards certain groups of people, because people are people, and just like learning and talking and like making a friend makes all the difference and breaks down those feelings, I guess.
Students also think that it is a moment to keep in touch with their culture, make new friends, and know that there is a net of peers around to support them.
The good thing about gathering with your culture, with your nation, is that there are other people that have been here before you and they know how it's like and they help you. So it's really nice to learn that you're not alone here. You're not the only Peruvian or the only people from your country. There's always some other people that are willing to help you.
Coming up, you will hear from international alumni that literally succeeded in a new world after their graduation.
Welcome back to UI7 Live presents Succeeding in a New World.
Despite all the challenges and problems, students that leave their countries to study abroad are very likely to succeed in their careers.
Our Manu Ferreira talked to alumni that graduated and found jobs in their field of study here in the US and even overseas.
Well, I think it was probably one of the best times of my life. The moment that I left the US, I could say for sure that was the best experience that I had, both in terms of learning, making new friends, and going through the challenges of being in a new country.
Graduating from college is one of the most expected moments for students, regardless of their level of education. It is a time to celebrate the accomplishments from the past years. Sérgio de Holanda is a UFI alumnus that graduated in May of 2022. After studying for 7 years, he earned his doctorate degree and now works in Australia.
When I remember my time in the US now, I think I tend to remember more about the good times and the good friends and good experiences that I had, rather than the stressful moments that I had, although they were there as well. So yeah, overall it was very good experience, and I'm glad I had the opportunity to go through this.
Sergio de Holanda Rocha is hooded by Dr. Stefan Grassi.
But graduation also means that it's time to move forward to the next level, finding a job. For international students, it comes with even more pressure.
It's an extra job to apply for jobs, so I had to do my research and write my thesis, my dissertation, and prepare to present it. And at the same time, in the afternoon, I had to study for the interviews, schedule the interviews. And if you're international, you don't really have an opportunity to do that after you graduate, or I guess it's very stressful to do that after you graduate because there is a deadline that you can stay. So it is better, if you don't want to reach that level of stress, you have to stress beforehand and handle two things at the same time, being a student and applying for jobs. So
When passing this stressful time, they can finally enter the job market and start working in their field of study.
I enjoy my job. I really like my career because I've been able to try 4 to 5 different roles in like a short span of time, around 8 years or so. So I maybe didn't know what I was getting myself into, but I think now that I look back, I really enjoy my position.
I can tell you that I got the type of position that I wanted, which is a tenure track academic position with, balance between research and teaching. So I just didn't know where I was going to end. So that was kind of surprising to come to Australia after all.
If there is something all international students agree with, is that despite challenges, stress, and problems, the experience pays off.
Personally, I would recommend it because it makes you most of the times come out of your comfort zone and also get a different perspective of the world and of other people.
I don't think I would do it any other way. It's not easy, especially being an international student, but I think it's worth it.
So this is definitely something that I'll carry for the rest of my life as a very, very good time.
More than having knowledge about their field, another reason why international students are valued in the job market is that having this experience abroad helps to build a whole set of personal skills that are also important. Back to you, Michael.
Joining us now in the studio is Dr. Pankaj Desai. He is the Assistant Director for International Student Career Development at the U of I. It's great to have you here, Dr. Desai.
Thank you very much.
So, Dr. Desai, the job search is usually a difficult process, but how is it more so, or how is it different for international students?
Yeah, one has to locate this problem within their migrational experience. International students have a lot of issues already emerging from their wanting to adjust here, which could be called as acculturation. So within this context, it is very important to understand that besides their career and their job, they're also trying to sort of live here, live being the lowest denominator in this continuum, exist if you may, and thrive eventually. And oftentimes they see that they have many things stacked up against them, some of which can be overcome through determination, through preparation, but sometimes these challenges are simply systemic or institutionalized, whether it's in the form of an immigration policy or whether it is, let's say, bias of some kind based on where they come from, who they are, how they speak, how they look, and how inefficiently they might have been able to communicate or not been able to communicate their strengths as a candidate. So those things really matter.
And what are some programs and services here available to help international students?
Yes. So the first thing I want to highlight is there are many different campus career service units. The first one is the one that I come from, the Career Center. It's the Career Center, which means that it serves all students, undergrads, grads, but there are different campus units, and I want to say thanks to all of my colleagues who are part of the Career Services Council, team of professionals who work for all kinds of students and also focus on certain populations. So within the Career Center, we offer our flagship program, which is called as the Career Certificate for International Students. And the idea is to deliver to them a set of learning materials, a curriculum over 9 weeks, which allows them to immerse in the work culture, the expectations that employers may have, and generally focus on their strengths and develop their competencies and learn how to narrate that in an interview setting, in a one-on-one setting. So there are components such as the elevator pitch. We do a lot of document review and learning what to put on the document, kind of a focus. We also look at how to refine your job search. So in a nutshell, this is a great program for anybody, whether they are a master's degree student or an undergrad, to come in and learn quickly all in one semester, in fact in 9 weeks, about the different aspects that they need to be focusing on. So that's one. Similarly, we have a program for international students called as the International Student Career Navigator Program. The word navigate is to help people determine which path to take, and having done it a little more than perhaps somebody else, the navigators get trained on recognizing some needs of international students and helping them navigate those challenges. So this position is developed keeping in mind that international students oftentimes have a huge handicap when it comes to communicating their leadership experiences. So this is a platform for international students to kind of own up to their leadership, mentoring, advising abilities, and also kind of talk about it within the American context. Besides this, we do a series of programs. The first one I would like to highlight is called the Returning Home or Global Career Series. Quite a mouthful. The idea here is to connect our current students with students who came here and then for whatever reason worked here for a while and then went back home or to a different country. So that's that. And then there is the other one which focuses on people who are here, International Professional Spotlight Series. That's what it is. The idea is to work with internationals who are students and then professionals and then help our students understand what kind of issues arise from trying to migrate from this side to the other side. So there are some programs like this which I could talk more about, but these are some of our flagship programs.
Amazing. So some students do decide to stay in the U.S. after graduation and work here, while others want to go back to their home country or even to different countries. How does the Career Center help with that transition-making process and changing process?
Yeah. So one thing is to help them develop their career competencies for the US market, which we focus on. But at the same time, our philosophy is to not help them find a job, but for them to emerge as competent professionals in a globalized world. So with that mindset, we also emphasize talking about their strengths, talking about their experiences from their native countries, about their experiences in this globalized world. And of course, we offer programming, one of which I mentioned already, the Returning Home series. So some of us perhaps do not know, and some of us have come here with a certain plan to be like, something like, say, I will work here for 5 years and then go back. So essentially, helping students be in touch with the work culture of the place that they want to go back to is something that we focus on. And so far, we have done in this semester India-focused one and a China-focused one, because that's where most of our students come from.
Right now seems like a very stressful period. What would you suggest for international students to get through it?
Yes, it is a time when a lot is up in the air, a lot is in flux. But here's one thing, international students almost always come with this experience before anything big happens like this. To be here is to kind of champion their ability to migrate and then thrive. Many of us are on a continuum, but eventually everybody wants to get there. So much before somebody else might want to do anything on that terms here in the United States, many international students have already started thinking. So I want to help international students go back to that locus and say that you're already doing that. Focus a little more on your well-being. Focus on building your strengths and competencies. Focus on how do you narrate your strengths to a potential employer, because that's the strength of the experiences that will come out in a comprehensive story, which will make the impact, because oftentimes they lack that narrative. So focus on the narrative, focus less on the impending doom, if it is at all, up in the next few months. That's what I would say.
That was some great advice. And thank you so much for coming, Dr. Desai.
It was a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. If you missed any part of our special presentation, you can watch it on demand on our Vimeo channel.
Plus, you can see all of our stories we presented today on our website at ui7newsroom.com.
And be sure to like UI7's Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram pages.
That is our special show for today. During the presentation of Succeeding in a New World, we looked at some of the challenges international students face while living and studying abroad.
We also learned about how important it is for them to stay in touch with their cultures.
And we heard from former students that had a great experience and succeeded despite all the struggles. I'm Hannah Lonergan. Thank you for tuning in.
And I'm Michael Szczepaniak. This has been UI7 Live presents Succeeding in a New World.